How to land the dream teaching job. I'm going to now talk around these bullet points. You'll see some of the bullet points here are repeated, and without apology, they're important. But I'm going to expand a little bit on this now. What does this mean? If you're new to teaching, even if you're in teaching, you want that dream job. Involve yourself in education as much as you can. You don't have to be a teacher to do that. There are many free courses on LinkedIn. You could become a helper at a school. You could contact a local school. You could find a school that is needing help, especially at the moment. And when COVID, of course, I understand with COVID, you can't physically go into school. Familiarize yourself with Zoom. Make sure that you can deliver online. Contact a school. Is there any way you could help? Can you help by reading stories to children? Can you involve yourself in the way that you used to? Be creative, but be involved in education. If you're not working at the moment and you're working towards, and you can, then yes, working for free is something you should consider. It's a fantastic step to securing your dream job. Now, I'm obviously not talking to people who are in positions at the moment and who can afford to, but you're in a good position because you're earning a wage, you're earning a salary in education. How involved are you in education globally? How much do you know about education? How visible are you? So becoming a substitute teacher, for example, you could register with there are many companies where you could involve yourself in teaching in that way to get your foot in the door. You will find many schools, different cultures, communities, and support that can be very different. Many schools have different attitudes towards this sort of approach. It does not mean that you do not do it. And if you do become a substitute teacher or a cover teacher or a teaching assistant or a reader or involvement, when you're in that environment, then you understand what this school is to you. Contact the school if you can be patient enough. The school that you want, the school where you really want to work, and involve yourself in that environment. Networking. When you're involved in any school environment, you want to hang out with teachers, principals. I have met so many people since I've made myself visible from all over the world. I've had so many conversations with people from different levels, different backgrounds, all within education. I have learned more in the last couple of years of my educational life because only in the last couple of years have I truly made myself visible. I could do much more as well, but I cannot stress enough how important it is to network. When we talk about knowing people, how are you going to know people that are in a school? You've got the dream ticket in the modern age. You've got LinkedIn, you've got an opportunity, you've got social media. Be creative, do something with that. Credentials. One of the hardest aspects of transitioning into a teaching career is knowing how to get your foot in the door. Teaching credential programs are a fantastic way to get support and experience. We offer that at Suraasa, and I'll share that with you towards the end. But this alone doesn't guarantee success. Make sure you get your credentials from somewhere that is known, somewhere that is recognized, locally or within the schools that you're looking to apply to. Look for somewhere that is international, if that is your desire, to work in international schools. There will be hard work with no pay during some student time, but in the long run, if you follow the first 2 points, then it can really pay dividends. It can. Patience is key. It's difficult, and I'm not deflecting from that. Review postings. Jobs change all the time. Now, for those of you who understand HR or know HR, you will know that you will see, or even if you're looking for positions, the same positions keep coming up. Sometimes you see a job has been posted and a month later the same job is reposted. Why? It might be because a candidate hasn't been found, but also some HR like to play the numbers game. They like to see how many people are interested, collect the data, keep the data, repost, interview all the while. So reviewing postings, making sure that you're into that. And when you're looking at postings, if you've done what I said at the beginning, and considered yourself and aligned yourself with the school that you want to work in, with the job that you want to work in, then you've got the best opportunity. Applying to random schools, as many schools as possible, playing that ratio, that numbers game, will not secure you the dream job. Build a portfolio, and I'm going to come to that very shortly. A blog, teach online, run your own workshops. The last 3 bullet points I didn't do until quite recently, but the response I've had from that, and many people who do this, who are visible, who are proactive by doing this. Now, if you're not a teacher yet, then talk about that. If you're not a teacher, run a workshop. Believe me, you will have so many followers. I want to be a teacher. I'm training this. I'm doing this. What are you doing? I would love to know. If you run a workshop on that tomorrow, believe me, you would have so many hits. I'm new to teaching. I'm not in teaching yet. I'm trying to find teaching. Run a workshop on it. Run a blog on it. And you will get response. And that will give you confidence as well, and recognition, and you will learn. Be prepared to put yourself out there, but do it honestly. And there's nothing wrong with saying I'm not in teaching yet and I want to go into teaching. You don't have to be an expert in education to run a blog, to be involved in LinkedIn, to be involved in education. How else are you going to grow? One way you will not secure your dream job is by writing a CV and hoping that the few points you've written in the CV with standard letter will get you some sort of attention or the opportunity for an interview. That will not. It will rarely work now. You need to be so much more proactive. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that hopefully give you something tangible, and a couple of you said about a CV template, a resume template, etc. So I'm getting to that. This slide, you can take a screenshot of it. I'm not really going to talk around it. There is so much information out there. You know, I have many discussions, and sometimes I have to say to myself, what are you doing to find a job? What have you done to consider yourself? How proactive are you being? Because I entered one Google comment, and this is what I came up with. So the points in white here: be open-minded, get a foot in the door, tailor your application, make your CV summary stand out. All these points, that was just a starting point. That was a 5-second search, a 5-second search. And people might look at this and say, okay, but that doesn't help me. It does help you. You need to act upon it. You need to take these bullet points and turn them into action for you. Be open-minded with the location. Have you considered location? Really, truly. Have you considered what schools you want to work in? What level of school? What type of school you want to? Have you looked at the schools? Have you visited the schools? Do you know that's the sort of school you want to work at? Even if you're working in schools and you think, I've been here for 15 years, I now want to try this. Why do you know that? How do you know that? Maybe you have researched it, and I'm not saying that people haven't, but how far have you gone? Make it happen. You need to make it happen. One other aspect on this that many people do wrong is once you've written your CV, it never changes, regardless of the job that you're going for. A CV should change for every different job type you're applying for. A CV should highlight the key points and key attributes that you have for that particular position, not just a letter of application. But when you have talked about moving from being a professor to a classroom teacher, maybe you haven't yet adapted your CV to read as a classroom teacher, to demonstrate your skills as a classroom teacher, as a classroom practitioner. So that's the first thing to do. That's the easiest thing to do. The second thing to do is, what have you done to immerse yourself in classroom teaching? Have you contacted schools? Have you done anything on LinkedIn? Have you engaged in classroom teaching and discussion? Do you understand the pedagogical difference in classroom teaching and teaching as a professor? Do you know the subtleties? Are you quite clear? Can you make them clear and make a reader convinced and believe that you have the skills too? It's about enthusiasm. The question I would ask you is, Why? Why do you want to move? And what I want here, that's an obvious question. Why do you want to move from? And I did it. I was secondary teaching for many, many years, and I moved into junior school. Why do you want to move into junior school, having been in senior school, specialist maths and music teacher? So you have to be able to answer to convince that you're passionate about children at that level, that you understand the curriculum at that level, that you understand the outcome, the desire of the school need, you understand the children need, you understand how to impact. Now, as we know as teachers, you should be able, you should have an armory of methods to teach the same component. If you're teaching one particular aspect of a lesson, you will have 3, 4, 5 different ways of teaching that same point or more. Why? Because we all have different learning styles. So if you're going from a position as a professor to a classroom teacher, then you have to understand those skills related to the children at that level. I personally failed miserably. I remember my daughter coming home and she presented me with a maths problem, and I thought, this is easy. She was 7, 8 years old. I can teach this. I understood it. I could teach it to myself, but I failed miserably to help her understand it because I didn't have the technique, the tools to access her level of understanding, that level, that need. So that's the key point in my answer to you. I hope that's helpful.